very warm welcome to all of you to the second episode of webinar series House of HR. Today we have with us
Thank you, Diksha. Thanks a lot. Can I share my screen? Good evening, everyone. So this was a topic that I chose to basically handle challenges on starting your career, because this was something that is, and so before we go this, I just wanted to mention to you that this is a privilege for me to do it for the Human Hour of IIM Rohtak, and this is my fourth IIM and IIT session that I'm doing today. And therefore, it's something which I love doing for you guys. So let us go straight to the topic proper. So what do we expect from this session? So let's hear that. Why is this topic? Firstly, so we will discuss that because that will give us a sense of why we should go ahead with this. And then what are your expectations? Right? And we will deal with the challenges, the list, and that is of, as an individual, what are the challenges that you would be facing, and an expectation from the corporate and the environment. So when I'm talking about environment, it means you're going from the campus to the corporate, and therefore that is an environmental change. So what does it mean? What are the challenges that you're going to face there? And finally, how to handle your boss. We learn a lot of things, but handling boss is not taught anywhere. No curriculum in the world seems to have it. And 87% of resignations, I'm talking about people who want to resign and people who have resigned. People who have resigned, DDI consultants in 2021 November said 57% of resignations was due to bad boss. So how to handle your boss is something that I'm going to deal with you, because that's a challenge that you're going to have throughout your life, as long as you're working for someone. Your expectations based on the survey that you did, this was some time back, we had to postpone this session. So therefore, I don't know if you recollect what you did, but I will take you through that, some of the questions. Most of the questions that you asked, I have already covered in the content of this presentation. And then, of course, how do you reach out and how can I be of help? And we'll wind up with question and answers. So who's going to help me take note of the questions? Divya, will you be doing this or somebody else?
Yes, sir, I'll do that.
Okay, so just please shoot in your questions in the chat box. I won't be having access to the chat box, but I will certainly go and do the question answer session where I can try and answer your questions. And Divya will certainly help me out in that. So the topic, why is this topic? Okay, because all of us, irrespective of whatever life that we are today, we all go through these challenges when we transit from the institute to the corporate. Or when I say corporate, it's a generic term. It means you could be joining a PSU, it could be joining a government organization, it could be a private company, it could be even entrepreneurship. Okay, anything. So that is generic when I say corporate. It helps to be better prepared, right? I wish I had some more time for this presentation, because then I could have added my experiences as a commando, where a lot of that applies to the corporate world. Some of the lessons that we do in the when we do launch our operations, we could use a whole lot of them here. And I've been practicing that in my 14 years of corporate career with 4 different industries as chief of operations and head of HR. So how to get ourselves prepared, that actually handles most of the challenges very effectively. Preparation is actually the key. Then blending cultures and the expectations. What are the expectations? And you would also be looking at what kind of culture is the company that you're going to, right? Expectations, what are your expectations versus what is the corporate expectations of you? So these are 2 things that needs to have a close match if you have to deal with the challenges effectively. So we agree challenges are here to stay, and this is something that we will face with throughout our life. The only time challenges are not going to bother you in your life is when you're dead. So when you're dead, absolutely no challenges, right? Then others have got a challenges. They got to go and cremate you, bury you, they got to cry for you, and they got to live their life. So Till then, challenges are here to stay, and we better be prepared how to do it. And it's not difficult at all. Any challenge, it's not difficult, right? And coming from a commando as well as a corporate head, you believe me when I say challenges can be handled. So, what are your expectations? This is based on the survey that we did. And so I just got the analysis on it in a few slides. We'll just go through it to find out so that refresh your memory, and plus to tell you how all of you who have responded to the survey, what was your thought line, right? So we were talking of experience. We had 40 responses of the survey, and 80% of you say that you have no experience. And that's a wonderful start point. If you have no experience, you have a whole wide scope of learning new things. Then, of course, about 17.5 said less than 2, and between 3 to 5 years is half of that, or maybe 1/4 of that, and nobody above 5 years, right? That's typically the profile that I see in PGP courses, right? If it's an EMBA, then of course this would be the opposite. The next that we want to check out was the, what do you expect, to face the transition from campus to corporate? The maximum was culture fit. 75% of people. You could opt all of the answers. So that's why this percentage is like this. It doesn't add up, right? So 75% felt culture fit is a challenge. Then comes work-life balance, quite obviously. And then we have knowledge transfer. 65% of you felt that could be a challenge when you transit. And then 63% acceptance of ideas of solutions of yours. How will the corporate expect it? How will they accept it? Those were your challenges that you felt. And then fear of the unknown. Because you're going to an entirely different environment, you really don't know. It's like walking into a fog. You really don't know what's there ahead of you. You've got to be cautious. It's something like that. But how do you handle fear, right? You ask for commander, we do one of the most death-defying things, and then how we handle fear is something that I will share with you there, and it's applicable throughout any life, any profession, right? And then, of course, 45% of you, hesitation in opinion conveying and learning new processes and procedures. Is that a challenge? Was something that you felt, right? Then let's go to what are the style of facing challenges. Everyone has their unique ways of facing challenge. Analyze, evaluate, act, and review. 45% of you have felt that is the way to face challenge. Whereas 37% of you felt that sharing with peers and colleagues for the best possible solutions could be, because this question had only one choice, okay? Then seeking help from supervisors or boss to help resolve. This was the third highest, was 12.5. And ignore if possible, this too shall pass over a period of time. Some 2 or 3 of you felt that, right? It is indeed a reality of truth. Sometimes you got to ignore it. But if you make that the only reason for facing challenge, then you are in some serious trouble, okay? Then comes the last one, and just about 3 of you who have said that it generally depends on the challenge, and all of the 4 options given above could be the course of action depending on the priority of facing the challenges. Excellent. Whoever said this, my compliments to you. In fact, that is how you got to be. I'm not saying the rest of you are wrong. I'm just saying that is a very flexible way that you should analyze, evaluate, act, review, and you should also share with your peers and colleagues if necessary, and seek help with supervisor or a boss to help resolve it. And certain issues in life are better ignored. Okay, so definitely these are the 4 options. You must just choose it out. And I'm very glad to see these results that you've said when you answer these questions. The next one was, this course has taught me to face professional challenges adequately. I was just wanted to understand, how are you finding the MBA? How is it actually? So this is really not a prerogative of mine to do something about it, but 50% of you have said that, this definitely is helping you do that. And 45% is not sure, and the rest of it, you say no. Maybe that is something that you need to introspect, that I leave that to you. Okay, so now let's deal with the challenges straight away, the meat of the presentation. So what are the challenges? So when you mentioned these challenges, I took it in that same order, the highest to the lowest. The first one, you said is a challenge of culture fit, right? So I think we have a restricted time this time. Initially, we planned for 1.5 hours, but then I think you got another session coming. It's starting at 4:15, so we'll try and I'll try and do it before that, so that we have some time for the question answers. The challenge of culture fit, right? Firstly, you must really understand your organizational culture, the culture that you're going to, right? I will be dealing with kind of cultures here, broadly speaking, in the next slide. But just remember that you need to know the organization. And where do you get those clues of that is from the website, speaking to the people there, or when you go visit there, you get a hang of what is the organization's culture. An organizational culture is static, more or less. It is you who have to adapt. And that is where you make it less challenging. How do you adapt to that? We will take a look at that. Then you need to connect to the insights into the organizational culture. What kind of a culture is it? Is it predominantly what? There are 4 types of culture. We'll take a look at that. Out of that, what is the predominant culture that this company is of? So that is something what I meant as the insights into the culture. And there will be a different culture in which the team that you're working with, whether you're going to marketing, HR, whatever it is, right? And the only way that to handle that is when you're curiously adaptable. They say that intelligence, the best way to define intelligence is not that score or that Mensa score that you have, is when you are an adaptable person, when you're able to adapt to situations. That shows that you're an intelligent human being. So you have to be adaptable and curiously, I put that word there deliberately for you to know that as long as you keep asking questions, you will be able to look for answers, and that reduces the power of the challenge. Okay, so that's where it is. And now we will take a look at the types of culture. So the Academy to Innovate HR, they did this metrics and this Johari window kind of a thing. And according to them, these are the 4 types of, depending on the flexibility, discretion, and stability and control, varying vertically there, and internal focus and integration, and the external focus and differentiation. This is on the horizontal axis. So when you look at this, there are typically 4 types of culture any organization will be, right? So we will take a look at each of them. Adhocracy culture, which is a dynamic entrepreneurial create culture. So something like startups you do, or a very creative organization, okay, create like marketing, or for media, or for any creative fine arts. These are where the adhocracy kind of a culture is there, where it's very, very fluid. There are no clear lines of hierarchy and all of that. Only the so that is one which is called the adhocracy. Then comes the clan culture, where people are, or they are team oriented. They have very close bonding with each other. Again, this is the startups start off like this, and over the years, as they expand, they slightly shift from this culture, right? This collaborate culture is also true when you're working in teams. Like for instance, if you're working in a team which is dealing with analytics of a football team, or for the country's football team, or a top team, so you are working for that. So this is where the clan culture works. And then the hierarchy, the older organizations, so companies who are typically more than 20, 30, 40, 50, 70, 100 years old, established companies, they do have a very hierarchy. It's a clear line, top to bottom, and there is a emphasis on calling all the elders sir or a madam and things like that. And there is very clear control. Because of the hierarchy, each hierarchy feels that they need to control the next hierarchy that's below them. So that is a kind of culture there, and they're generally fine with it, because as long as you accept it. But for the millennials, the Z generation, you will find this a little daunting if you don't understand it. Once you understand it, you will be able to blend very easily, because you are at your age, you are very adaptable. And then the 4th one is the market culture, clear competitive culture. E-commerce teams, the marketing teams, the sales teams, they are very, very competitive, and everything is based on results. The very few, reasons for the research R&D ones, they're all very result-oriented ones. So it's called a compete kind of culture. Generally, these are there. An organization may have all the four type of cultures, but one or two of the cultures would be predominant. And over a period of time, even that also changes. Like I told you, startups will start up with adhocracy, and after a period of time, it will become clan. So you got to understand that, right? Right. Now comes the second important thing, which you said is challenging of work-life balance, right? Um, I will give you a take, which is because I went through two different organizations where the work and life was one. In the armed forces, there is nothing like work and there is nothing like life. You are 24/7 with the organization. It's a way of life there, right? So you deal in that case, how do you deal with your life? Because life essentially means, your own life, right? Okay, how do you deal with that? And believe me, I don't have time, but the organization has got its own ways of giving you that life that you want. You want a party, it gives you an opportunity to do that. You want to stay with your family, it gives you an opportunity to do that, right? So that is the challenge of work-life balance. You should be able to clearly distinguish it as well as blend it. That is the secret of handling work-life balance. I'll deal with this a little more in some few points. Firstly, this don't ever imagine it's a balance. The moment you think it's a balance, then you're gone. Then you will try weighing one out, then you'll start comparing one with the other. And that is where the fear of losing of balance happens. And you're invariably questioning, is my life more important or is my work more important? That kind of a question should not happen in your mind. You should be very clear what aspect of your life is clearly professional, clearly depends on the job that you do, and what is yours, your hobbies, your family, your me time, for instance. These are also important, because this life portion of it is the one that energizes your batteries to do the professional part of it. So you have to have clear demarcation, and you should also know when one can overlap over the other. It should not be because of frustration. It should be out of choice. That's how you handle the, for instance, when I say this, define your work and life, this is exactly what I just said. You should be clear what is life, what is work, and what is the extent that you will allow one to overlap the other. And believe me, you have to do it at certain points of life, of your life. Sometimes it would happen that the work needs priority because of a contingency or an emergency there. Sometimes your life will have its emergency, it takes more important. You ought to understand that, demarcate it, and do not let the other overtake the one. Okay. Be flexible to prioritize and a workaround. Whenever you prioritize, life is far more easier. Every day you may have to make your priority for the day. And during the day, those priority would change because of some new things that are happening. If you are able to understand that new things can jeopardize your plans, you'd be fine, right? But if you're very rigid about it, that's when the frustration sets in. So be flexible. Fine. Then the next question that you had was challenging of application of your knowledge and your ideas, right? Your skills. You're wondering, how do I apply that? Will that be something that's relevant? Is it something which the company will accept it? Will they reject me? These are normal questions that comes to your mind, right? Firstly, understand that whenever a fresher or an intern comes to a company, you are considered a breath of fresh air, right? Firstly, you're the youngest, and you come with a lot of energy, and you come with a lot of fresh ideas that people may not even thought of. That is one. Now you have to be conscious of templating. Now, what I meant by templating is, in this course of 2 years that you do here in your MBA, you would be doing a lot of case studies, right? Now, some of these case studies will have solutions and which you are very aligned to. Now, just because you did that case study and you are aware of solution, don't template it there when you go there. There, the circumstances may be different. You shouldn't say to your boss or somebody else, no, in our MBA, we did this. This is how we did it. Okay, that may be okay for that particular case study. But here you got to be smart enough to understand what can be applied and what needs a fresh thought. Constantly work on how to improve the status quo, right? the reason why they got you here in the company is because the company has a sort of a almost a constant way of doing things, handling things. When you come in with a fresh way of handling. They're expecting you to do that. Now, when you do that, one of the first things that you must remember is that you are giving an idea which is something very fresh. Whether it is implementable or not is a decision, the prerogative of the company you work. So don't get disappointed. Oh, they didn't accept the idea, or it's not working, or they're not listening to it. That is not your lookout. Your job is to find out what are the ways of doing it. Because why it cannot be or can be adopted has got so many factors which is not visible to you. Only they know it. The priority, the compliance issues, the monetary aspect of it, the leadership aspect of it. Some of it may need the decision of the board. So there are so many things that matters. So you may not be aware of it. So don't get disappointed. That's okay. You have to tell what you want to say, and then leave it at that. Fine, and help how to implement it in case if it's getting recognized. So that applies in the processes and the procedures too. You will find some ways of doing things better. Do give it out how it can be done better, but give it out in a way that it can be done, not as a critic. Don't criticize the system and say that this is not the right way of doing things, but say that, can we do this a better way? Get that acceptance to buy into your ideas. Learn that. That is a communication skill that you need to learn. And it reduces this challenge of application of knowledge and ideas. This is very important, and that's why I put these two letters in a different color. More than change, it is the preparation for change which is more important. I'll quickly give you an example of a company. I don't know if you heard of it or you've done this in your case study. There was this textile company, and they for 50, 60 years, they've been working on a particular mission. So the son, when he took over from his dad, he decided that, these are all, too outdated, too mechanical, frequent breakdowns, maintenance costs are high. So he wanted to go in for something more modern. Obviously, it was available, technology was available, and there were about 8 machines like that. And he wanted to replace all of them for obviously better reasons. So he went ahead and then got the new machines. And when the trucks came with those new machines, the men in the company went on strike. They said, we will not accept the new machines. They said, according to them, they said that we've been praying with these machines. They gave us the bread, the daily bread that we ate, these machines gave us. How can you just simply uproot it and put in a new machine? This was a classic case study of how you didn't prepare for change. You should have prepared those people. They have apprehensions. Will these machines make us redundant? Will we lose our job? These questions were not addressed at all. So therefore, it is very, very important to prepare for change. And then when you do the change, it's more acceptable. Fear of the unknown. Now, we really don't know what is unknown. Okay. So we need to identify with the apprehensions and, the unknown to known. Convert the unknown to known. How do you do that? Now, that is where the challenge is, right? You really don't know what's going to happen to me. Will I make the promotion? Will I continue in this job? Will I get thrown out? Will I make a mistake? So many fears, unknown fears, and those things are there. Some of this may be very prominent for some people. Some may not be at all. It will not even make any consequence, but they will be a different kind of apprehension, right? So the step 2, what you need to do is that firstly, you identify what's bothering you, right? So I'll give you a very quick example. When I was a commando, I was afraid of heights. Okay, I was okay for about 15, 20 feet and all that. I could jump and all, that's fine. But then when I was a commando, we had to rappel down the helicopter on ropes with a sheer hands. We have gloved hands, and with the weight in the hands, weight with the luggage behind us, the weapons and everything, we got to slither down 100, 150 feet from a helicopter. Now, that was something which I was not confident about my arms picking up my body and that. And secondly, I was afraid of heights. I knew that was a fear. And how I got rid of that fear was I used to go in the middle of the night when everybody is asleep. I used to climb up the trees there where they used to have ropes for exercises. And I used to slither down the rope because I can't see the ground at night. So that I get used to the fact that I must concentrate on strengthening my arms and slithering down that rope. That's how I got rid of the fear, because first I identified with it, and then what can I do to address it? I addressed it that way. Why middle of the night? Because I didn't want to be ridiculed saying that, why are you a guy who is a commando who's getting scared? He doesn't know how to rappel. He's scared of jumping from heights. I didn't want people to know that. So that's how I addressed it, right? And then the action plan. So similarly, you must have whatever you fear first. The first answer to fear is to do it. Just do it. That's the only way to defeat fear. Fine. So if you're afraid of water, just go ahead and learn swimming. That's the only way to do it. Something like that. Have an action plan, and that definitely removes fear. Now coming to the environmental change from a campus and you're going to a corporate, right? Firstly, a few things that you need to understand is that remove this us versus them. This us versus them kind of, because you're all, same age group, coming from this, maybe 4 or 5 of you would be going to the same company. So you will want to get together during the tea time, maybe get together during the lunch, and you have your own. So remove that out. You are now part of a company. You got to blend with the company. So don't create that an invisible wall by that us versus them. Secondly, there is something which are familiar and there's something which is formal. You must understand, in a company there will be certain occasions where you're very familiar with people. That's it. Certain places you've got to be formal. The decorum has to be maintained. Now that's a separate subject by itself. I believe that you can understand this difference. Then the third, of course, is the decorum factor. So you can't treat that like a classroom, right? You can't be treating your all of you getting together during a break and making a racket. Somebody may be working during the break in the office. There are about 30, 40 people working. So if you make a racket there, it'll disturb somebody who's working. So those kind of decorums you must understand and be fine with it. Ask your boss, ask the HR, and they will tell you. Invariably, you will have a buddy when you go into a company, somebody who will be assigned to you to help you go through the internship or blending into the company. Make use of them for any of your challenges that you might have. Your development versus organizational development. Your development is something which is applicable to you, whereas organizational development is something which is a collective of all the employees and the resources the company has got. There should be no clash. So if your organization is growing, you should also know how are you likely to grow in that organization. And the best person to say that is your immediate boss or the HR, right? You must understand from them what is the odd development in the company, and how can you keep pace of that with the organization development. How many years does it take? How long does it take? And what is the additional upskilling that you need to do? What is the compensation criteria that will happen, right? All of that you need to understand. Then you have to learn to adapt faster. I already told this to you. Adaptability is your best weapon to face challenges. Professional adaptability and your administrative. Why I said administrative is that you would be going to an entirely new location. It could be a new country, it could be a new region. The way that you might get an accommodation there, that's where administratively you have to learn to adapt this. You may have to share accommodation with somebody, or you may be alone. The food patterns will be different, the timings will be different, the climate will be different. You should learn to adapt to it rather than compare with what you did in the past. That is what I meant. The comparison actually is the biggest pain that can create stress for you. One of the highest stress reasons is comparison. Comparing yourself with somebody, comparing your spouse with some other spouse. These kind of comparisons are the ones which, comparing your boss with some other boss, those kind of things. So you need to learn how to adapt. Fine. And ignore challenge, learn to handle your boss. This is what I was telling you. So firstly, understand the boss. He's a human being just like you. The only thing is that he's been there before than you. So therefore, he's got an experience which much more than you. He's got that much of age difference, perhaps. And some cases, age difference also won't be there. But the fact that there is an experience factor, and that's why they are there. Okay. So you need to understand. Now, this is the professional part of it. Now when I say you got to understand, you got to understand your boss as a person. Fine. What kind of a person he or she is, right? What is it that they they like when they get things done? What is it they're looking for when they assign a particular task? You must understand that, because that filling up of that gap is important. When I'm saying this, I am categorically saying you're not expected to be a sycophant. I'm not saying buttering. I'm not talking about, that's not what I meant. What I meant was to understand what is it that is making the boss, so that when you function with your boss, you both can be very good at the outputs both of you desire. There is a common perception between you. There should be no perception mismatch. Okay. And setting the expectations right. What happens in the performance appraisal, which I've seen in all these 4 companies that I worked with in 4 different industries, the expectation the boss had, he or she never conveyed it to the employee, and the employee thinking that I'm doing this work, so this is fine. Serious mismatch in the expectation. And where does it get exposed? It gets exposed when it is time for performance appraisal and incentives to be given, and there people find it's difficult. Okay. Help the boss and the team to grow. This is something that you must do. If you help your boss, he invariably will find some ways to help you out grow. Okay. And keep your communications lines open. When I say that, if there is some misunderstanding, clear it. Don't assume that it will get okay over a period of time. Mistakes are human. Learn to bounce back. It's okay if you make a mistake. It's fine. You might get scolded for it. You might get a warning for it. It's fine. But don't use that as a basis for the rest of the time that you're going to be. Mistakes have gone, it's always related to the past. It is not of present and future. So therefore, you need to look at it from that perspective. Bad news does not get better with time. If something has gone wrong and if you're trying to hide it, it's not going to get better. Someday somebody will find it out, and when it gets zeroed on you, it's going to speak very heavily on your integrity. It's going to speak very heavily on how you caused it to deteriorate the situation. Somebody could have handled it. If something was going wrong, you're not able to handle it. If you go tell somebody who can help you out, you have actually saved the situation. Okay. Understand politics. Politics is everywhere. It is there in a family of 4, right? And it's definitely going to be there in any workplace that you go. But the point is the second portion of it. Don't play it. Don't play politics. That's very important. Okay. And then comes the challenges of growth. So the growth is not as dynamic, or as it is certainly dynamic, but it's not as blissful as you think growth is. Okay. There are a few things that you need to. Firstly, you must clarify what your growth goals are in the company, in the industry, in your own career. You must have your short, mid, and your long-term goals as far as your career is concerned. Fine. Short is just generally up between 2 to 3 years, and anything between 3 or 2 to 5 years is the midterm goals. Anything beyond that is long-term goals. So something akin to your finances. So make sure that you go ahead and clarify these goals when you do that. Fine. Avoid too many hops in jobs. Now, this is very important because it shows that either you're not able to face challenges, and that's why you're hopping jobs, or secondly, you're very unstable, right? When I say too many hops is in a 10-year span, if you have jumped jobs more than 5 or 6 times, it means that there is a reason why we should understand why are you skipping jobs like that. Okay, so that is very important. Don't and most often than not, people are resigning just for the heck of resigning. That's what I see, because there are opportunities outside. That's why. Don't do that. At least 2 to 3 years, definitely you got to stick in one place. And if you find challenges there, face it. Learn how to face those challenges and handle it. That will groom you. That will make you grow. Not jumping into another place where you think this place is going to be heavenly, right? That doesn't work. Look at long-term growth perspective. This is very important. And speak to your boss. Speak to your whoever is giving you the tasking. What is the growth line? How is it defined? How do I measure it? And all of that you must put it down. Put and document all that you do. This is something which a lot of people don't do. And then the time it comes to appraisal, it's a recency effect is playing, where they will only remember what just happened in the past 3 months, and they've conveniently forgotten what happened the 9 months before. So if you have documented your progress, it's very easy to carry out that conversation when you have in your performance appraisals and all that. Your expectation. Now, this is extract of the questions that I had asked in that session when I sent that Google form. So some of the questions, I can't put all the questions here, but some of the questions were common, so I made that comment, and some of them I've already addressed in the content of this presentation. Learn about working of an organization and impact of its transition. This is one of the questions that came. I've already dealt with it. How do you learn about it? Go and study the company. In my interview session that I had, I tell people that appearing for the 40 minutes or 1 hour of an interview is just about 20 or 30% of the effort. 70 to 60 to 70% of your effort is preparing for that interview, right? So when you prepare for that interview, you understand about the organization, learn about it, and it makes it easier for you to blend in, to move into to adjust to the organization. Okay, that impact of transition gets reduced when you do your homework. Work stress, handling work stress, I've already dealt with it. So stress is something of a expected. There is some expectation you have and it did not happen, and that's why stress is there, right? So if you understand both these situations and see what can you do about it. Now, more often than not, it is controllable, something which is in your hands or something which is in the way that you're thinking about it. But there are some aspects of it which is uncontrollable, or I won't say the word uncontrollable, I will say not controllable. And now you can't do anything about it. Pandemic happens, people have got COVID, you can't do anything about it, right? No point fretting or getting stressed about it, right? How to handle things in a better way. This is a 70% rule which I want to tell you, and please remember this. It helps you a lot. You will be required to take decisions in your life, professionally, personally, right? Now you'll be wondering, should I do this or should I do that? I'm talking about those decisions. If you feel that by deciding you are able to get 70% advantage, or it's benefiting 70% of the company or the resources, then that is a better way of doing things. 20%, 30% people might be against it, may not agree with it. It's fine. Go ahead. That's part of nature. Disagreement is part of nature. Don't fret over it. Don't get worried about it. It's okay. Just move on. Okay. Then how to put theoretical knowledge and concepts into real life situations, I've already put. Now, what you have to understand here, this question, I believe this, whoever asked this question, is that when you have a theoretical knowledge and concepts, how are you putting it to real life? Just remember that when you learned your theoretical knowledge and concepts, you must learn it from the point of view how to apply it in real life situations. When you learn it from that perspective, then this is no more a question or a challenge. How to convey my opinion around strong-headed and stubborn people. We will definitely come across this lot of people who are strong-headed and stubborn. Now, somebody being strong-headed and stubborn is their problem. Believe me when I say it is their problem, it's not your problem. But what you can do is to handle it. That is with you, right? Them being strong-headed or stubborn, don't try and change it. Big mistake, okay? But how you are going to see that, how you're going to handle it, that is in your hands. So what normally happens when people are stubborn or non-veg, they have a very high ego, very big ego, huge ego, okay? And all you need to do is that when they are telling you something in front of others, in front of people, and then if you're confronting that there, they will put you down nicely. So the secret is not to confront them in front of the others. But you have to confront them because there is ethical issues involved, or because you believe in something which is very strong about it and something which is going to benefit the organization. You need to walk up to them, find out a situation when they are fine to listen to you. Don't go to them when they're just about to leave for office and say, I have a problem to discuss, right? Look for fix up an appointment, be very clear that what you wanted to discuss, and go with a level head. Go with a level head that in case if it comes with a resistance, what are the alternatives to solve that resistance? Once you go in this one, you will not get bothered by the strong-headed and stubborn people. They will no more be a threat to you. Something unexpected happens. How do you react to it? Unexpected things are bound to happen. It's part of life. right? How do you react to it? There is one thing that you must remember. This I already gave a hint of it earlier too. Any unexpected situation, there are two possibilities there. One, what is it that I can control there? And what is it that I cannot control in that situation, in that unexpected situation? What is it that I cannot control? Accept it. But what is it that you can control? You can certainly do something about it, right? For instance, there's recently, let's take this news where this boy fell down in that crevasse in Kerala where he slipped down there, right? Now, what is not controllable? That he cannot move out from there. What is not controllable? That he needs help that needs to come from there. But what is controllable is to get hold of his fear, get hold of his fact that he should not sleep, that he might slip and fall down. Try and control the thirst, the hunger that goes with it. Don't get into a panic mode. People are there to help you out. It will happen someday. And it took just 47 hours and it happened. So that is what when something unexpected happens. You got to know what is controllable and what is not controllable. I took a real life example because you are able to relate to it very well. Coming from different background, how do I adjust? All of us come from different families. We come from different background, cultures, language, the way that we speak, communities that we come from, faith that we believe in, they're all different. But what you need to do is that how do you justify your role on us as a fresher? Nobody is questioning your background. It is there only in your mind. If I'm coming from a tier 3 city and I'm going to work in a metro, I should never feel that just because I'm coming from a tier 3 institute, or sorry, tier 3 place, or I'm coming from a village, it's going to be a handicap. How should I, correct myself, or how should I improve myself so that I can be part of this culture, I can adapt to this culture? That is what is more important for you, right? So don't use it as a leverage to say just because you get stuck somewhere, oh, I didn't know how to speak English very well and that is why my idea did not get. Nobody cares. There are some people who comes with broken English, but they are so convincing because they have conviction of getting their point across, and those people are winners. So don't get into all this different background and coming from a different city and all of this. Doesn't matter at all, especially in cross-cultural companies. These things really don't matter. No more of HR field. Somebody asked for this different topic altogether. I won't be able to handle in this short time that we have, right? And no expectation from the session. Just 1 or 2 hours won't help. You're very right. Just by listening to this 1 or 2 hours, just not even 1 hour, by the way, I'm going to close in another 5 minutes because we have question and answer sessions. But this gives you an idea. You need a bird's eye view. You need that helicopter view. Only then will you be able to understand where is it that I must focus thereafter. So that's why these sessions are there. I'm sure there must be something that you must have picked up from this session. My 30 years plus 35 years of a career and what I've spoken to you from 2 different careers that I've been through. I mean, all of that is not waste when I've talked to you. There must be something that you will pick up, isn't it? So that is what this session is meant to be. Rest of it is entirely on you, how you are going to make use of this knowledge, make use of this perspective to change the way that you are to a better you. It's up to you. Okay. It's not the responsibility of the webinar to help you do that. Okay, so some of the topics that you could, I could take it for you depending on how comfortable you are with your permissions and all of that. Difference between managers and inspiration leaders. This is something which is very important, and the sooner you know this, you become very, very successful in all your spheres. Next is, what do corporate organizations expect from you during interviews? Okay, now you're on first time, I believe, and so you will be doing interviews for your internship, summer internship, and thereafter for a permanent job. So what is there that is required what do the corporates and organizations expect? It's entirely different. My book talks very nice, just 1 page in that book talks of this, the matching of perceptions, right? So get hold of the book. I'll share with you those details about that. How to create a winning ATS compatible resume CV. I did this for IIM Indore, and both for the Armed Forces program as well as for the PGP course there. And they never realized that there's so much of insights into creating a simple CV and why ATS compatible, that ATS is application tracking software compatible CV. Why is it so important? Okay. Then we go to, this is how you reach me out. Please take a screenshot of this and or you can note this down. Otherwise, I have got also a QR code in my next slide. You can take a screenshot of that QR code. That is my digital, what you call a visiting card that talks of everything that I've done, the book I have written about, the topics that I have written, my website. It talks of my YouTube channel. In my YouTube channel, please go and take a look at that. A lot of career enhancing one. I did recently one for Simply Learn. This was just day before yesterday on challenges of facing your career pitfalls. Secrets of how do you face that. I did that and just about one day, and it's close to 3,200 views already on YouTube. So take a look at that. It's there in my YouTube channel, Simply Learn. I will, when I get that link, I'll share it with Divya or somebody, and they can share it with you once I get the recording, right? So this is the screenshot. Go ahead and take a QR shot of this, and this will give you the complete, and it automatically helps, your contact. I can save it with me, and please do reach out. There is link in this for reaching out to me on the LinkedIn. So please reach out, be a member, because your networking happens right from now. Your future career depends on how good you have networked. I have an entirely different session for networking and LinkedIn optimization. So whenever you feel like it, please reach out to Humanar and we can do a session on that. This is the book that I was talking about, how to sharpen your interview skills. And these are the things. It has got the secret about that mindset that you need to do when you go in there. Perception matching, this is what I was talking about, and how to have an edge and creating that visibility in the mind of that interviewer. That's very important. Techniques, and this is, of course, you can get QR code to capture the checklist, virtual interviews, how to do it, and the CEOs and CHROs. This is very important. I've asked across the globe, the CEOs and the CHROs, I've asked them what are the three things that they look for when they interview, and what are the three things that puts them off. So they have shared that immense value, those whatever those views are. And this was reviewed by IMA. This book has been reviewed there. And this was also presented to the this festival, the Grad Festival, Career Festival in US. And that was last year, this book of mine. And it's got 36 reviews, all 5-star, just one 4-star, and rest of it is 36, both international as well as the Indian. In India, it is available on Amazon and is as a paperback. And it was available in US also. So now it's only on Kindle if you want to go for the Kindle version. And Kindle version is just 175. Otherwise, you can order this book. And this is, take a screenshot of this. Or even if you search for how to sharpen your interview skills, or my name, Premvas, you will get this on Amazon, right? Okay, this is one which I did day before yesterday. Simply Learn. This is the second webinar that I did for Simply Learn. The earlier one I did was how to sharpen your interview skills as you move up your career. So please go take a look at this, and it'll definitely give you some of these insights which you can avoid career pitfalls you will face. Everyone faces in various degrees. How do you navigate through that is something which I dealt with. It's important even before you step into your career. Please go ahead and take a look at this. Right, now let's go for the question answers. I've done it in 40 minutes.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a really insightful session wherein we learned about the various challenges, be it the challenge of environmental change or the challenge of work-life balance. So now we'll be taking up one or two questions.
Sure.
So the first question will be asked by Subhani. Subhani, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Subhani.
Thank you for the insightful session, sir. It was really helpful. So my question is, like, many times it happens that we have learned a lot of things in like schools or like previous colleges, and then we come to MBA and we learn it in a different way, in a different version maybe. So how do we unlearn things and learn again? Like, it's sometimes very difficult. So can you help on
You said it, Subhani. I am of the opinion that there is nothing like unlearn or relearn. every step that you go ahead is a new learning. So don't try an effort to unlearn whatever you did. Okay. So a lot of people have spoken on this learning and unlearning. Fine. I don't believe in it. That's my take. Fine. And so don't bother to unlearn. But what you should do is that every moment is a learning for you. It's a fresh learning. So when it comes to fresh learning, you could be changing whatever was your earlier perception. You got that? You're just changing your perception, but your learning remains the way it is. You can change the perception. Fine. And that's how you move it. For instance, when we learned, that Pythagoras theorem, we learned it in chalkboard. But today, Byju's has come out with the new ways of, the digital way of learning the Pythagoras theorem, right? So am I supposed to unlearn the way that I learned it in school? No, this is a new way of learning it. That's all. So just go start learning everything from a new person. Keep your mind open. That's the best way, right? Like how a paracommando does. He has to keep his parachute open. Only then he'll land. Otherwise, he'll kill himself.
Yes, I got it, sir. Thank you so much.
So the next question will be asked by Chanchal Priya. Chanchal, please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. The session was really insightful. So my question is that before MBA, many of us didn't get the opportunity of working in a team.
Okay.
Like sometimes, and that's why we do face issues while working in a team. Like we don't agree with each other, and there is a difference of opinion, and we don't know how to deal with it. So, what would you suggest so that the effectiveness of the team is still intact and the work is still done?
Okay. So good question. And this is something that you will face, Chanchal. Not just you, everybody will face this in life. That when you work in a team, whether it's the team is just about 2 of you or maybe 20 of you, okay, you will have this. You will have people because that's the way it is. This is one of the reasons why in the armed forces, people are selected on sports. Why it's very important that you play games. In the armed forces, it is compulsory that you play games. The reason is in that you learn how to work in a team. Okay. And you abuse somebody, you disagree with somebody, you don't like the way that you yell at him, and you learn that in a team, but you don't get offended, isn't it? That is what sports helps you to learn. But okay, fine. So now today we've come from schools where there's not even a playground. What to talk about anything else? So we really haven't understood. So your point is very valid, Chanchal, that how do you learn team? One thing you must understand, that when you give out your point of anything that you have to say, you must say it. But say it not because you want people to accept it. You get the difference? You say it because that is something that's important that you convey. Okay, so when it comes to something ethical that you want to say, you got to say it. You can't keep quiet about it. You have to say it. But say it because you have to say it. And if it is not, if somebody disagrees with it, find out why is that disagreement and address that if possible. Then there will be a situation where you will both agree that it is better to disagree. That is a better route to take. Agree to disagree, fine. So that you are not, losing your sleep over it, fine. So you have to, in a team, definitely you will have people disagreeing, which is fine. Go ahead and fine. Just say what you have to say. Don't get into argument in that. Go into always a discussion mode. You control it. You tell that person, see, I don't want to argue with you. I want to discuss this with you. You change that perspective when you change that conversation from an argument to a discussion. Okay. So that is how, so this comes in that topic of inspirational leadership versus, a manager. That is where I deal with that in that one. So I think I gave you a hint of how to handle it. Is that fine?
Yes, sir. That is all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chanchal.
So, sir, looking at the paucity of time, we'll be taking just one last question.
Okay.
It will be asked by Nirupama. Nirupama, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, sir. So, thank you for the insightful session. And so, my question from you is, as you said about managing professional and personal life. But, sir, at times we fail to understand this. So, sir, what is your advice to handle or manage this situation?
So let me understand your question a little bit more. So Nirupama, when you say that personal or a professional life you're not able to understand. What is it exactly that you're not able to understand? Just give an example if you really want to, or if you can elaborate that.
So sometimes it's difficult to manage both. Like
Okay.
so related to that, yeah.
All right. So when it comes to managing both, that means that there is a conflict, okay, between a professional and a personal life, right? So what you need to do is that you need to just sit down to yourself and address it immediately, rather than I will think about this tomorrow, I will sort this out next week, or maybe I will do it next month. Delaying that is actually creating stress for you. Consciously or unconsciously, it is creating stress. You have to address it immediately. Okay. So at any particular point of time, it's either the profession or it is your personal life. One of it has to take priority. If the situation is that you can balance it out, it's fine. Then there is no problem. But the conflict comes when it is clashing. Okay. So there, at that particular moment, because every situation in your life is temporary, it's not permanent. So therefore, at that particular moment, what is its priority is, can I give you an example to explain that? I'll quickly tell you this in just one minute. I'll close this answer for you. I have to go out to a party. Okay, my friends, all of us got together for a party, and the party is starting in 2 hours' time. Just now, I got a call from my boss saying that a client wants a particular clarification, and I have to attend to that call in another hour. Right now, look, here is a situation that you have a clash, isn't it? Both, you want to go for a party, your classmates are getting together, and here this boss is coming giving you this call. Now, but it's not important for you to get worried at this time, or get hurt, or start abusing the boss or anything like that. Tell very clearly that the client's cost, because you are going to the party because of the salary given by the company for which you're working. So this client call seems important. Okay. So you will say, yes, I'll handle this. I'll speak to the client. Fine. And then you will call your people who are doing the party, say, I'll be late for about half an hour or 1 hour. I won't be able to reach in time because I got some other issues to be addressed. So you are actually prioritizing at that particular moment. You prioritize that before you go for the party, you have to kill this issue with the client. And when you do that, speak to the client, finish it with the client, tell him that if there's anything, I can take it tomorrow morning. But immediately, whatever is it, I can help you do that. Fine. So that is how you got to balance it. Don't get both of it into your head. Imagine what is priority at the moment. That's all it is. Fine.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
That answers my question.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We are glad to have you with us for this evening. So we'll be looking for more such sessions.